So how's it going? I'm back with another video. This is going to be on a very different topic that I've ever discussed on this channel in some ways. And it's not quite on the decline of the skeptic community, which I at one point would have considered myself to be a part of the skeptic community because, you know, I was very anti-radical feminism, and that's a lot of the things that the people that I followed, like Teal Deer, like Thunderfoot, like Sargon of Akkad, they really, discussed these topics and debunked these ultra feminists who, I'm fine with feminism. I'm not a feminist personally, but these people seem to be trying to change society in order to fit them, claiming that everything was racist, everything was sexist, everything was homophobic, everything was transphobic, stuff like that, instead of actually trying to make changes. Now, I would go out and consider myself an advocate for social justice, but I'm not the one who's out there calling everything sexist, homophobic, racist, transphobic. I let people live their lives the way they want to live. I might not outwardly agree with their lives or the way they plan out their lives or their gender identification, but I am not one of those people who is going to come up to and say, the way you identify yourself, the way you classify yourself is bull. I'm not going to do that because it's none of my business. It's none of my responsibility to tell other people how to live their lives. I can criticize them, but I'm not going to go out and say that they're bad people for stuff like that. And, we were going up against the SJWs, people who, started doing asinine things in order to make their points better, in order to get the higher ground. And they did things like slander people, they did things like blackmail people, just horrific things. And yes, I did agree with people like Sargon of Akkad, people like Thunderfoot, people like Teal Deer, other members of the anti-SJW movement. But the thing is, the feminist movement was the schism of the atheist movement. Now, I don't consider myself an atheist. I consider myself an agnostic. My own personal reasons, I don't need to share them. But here's the thing. The movement, the skeptic community, which was the other side of the SJW community, they've started to schism. They've started to split themselves. And it happened over, the Brexit thing, the Milo thing, Donald Trump becoming president. And for the most part, I have sided myself with Thunderfoot, Dr. Phil Mason. Now, the thing you have to understand about Dr. Phil Mason is he makes his videos in a way in which he will put in his videos the most extreme things that a person says or does. And sometimes he'll use that to make his point, and I've always criticized that way of making his videos. He is sometimes known for cherry picking in a lot of his videos. You can see even in those Anita Sarkeesian videos, there was some cherry picking. Not as much cherry picking as what she did, but there was still some cherry picking, and I will acknowledge that. The fact of the matter is, I have very much separated myself from the camp of Sargon of Akkad and whoever is in his camp. There are so many to count, but I have far separated myself with that guy because he is a very disingenuous person as well. Seems to, instead of using his platform as a high subscriber YouTuber, he's instead just ignored all the stuff that the far right wing has been doing. All he does is make videos bashing the left, and I made a video calling him out on that and why he doesn't make videos about the right, which I feel like I want to be prone to doing. I want to make videos about why the far left is bad, and I want to make videos on why the far right is bad. I want to be able to do that. Now, I have been making videos about why the far right is bad more, but I want to become more even. I want to become more centrist in that ideal. But, going out and calling people autists because they're left-wing thinking, calling left-wing thinking a disease, and then coming out and saying, well, I am actually a classical liberal, which is a conservative, obviously. But then also saying there's no way that I can help the right. So I just criticize the left, which is a BS excuse, no matter how you put it. But here's the thing. So there was a Google Hangout, right, between a few anti-SJWs, I guess you would call them now. I don't even know what you'd call them. Skeptics, and Sargon of Akkad was in there. Now, I watched the whole video. It was mundane. It was not very interesting. Basically, what happened was a male feminist, ended up getting on drugs, and he shot a woman. And there were a few times in this hangout in which those skeptic YouTubers made some very poor jokes about the situation. So I found these jokes to be very tactless. And it's not that I really care or it really matters to me, but, I'm not someone who speaks poorly on the dead like that, or poorly on what somebody's done when it comes to that. I would come out and say, well, that person's just stupid for doing that. But Thunderf00t, Phil Mason, someone who I've followed for a long time, and I agree with most of the time, he came out and made a video and talked about how he no longer wants to be part of the skeptic community because of that. And he showed a lot of the sound bites, the clips of them making the jokes, and he got called out, and I feel like rightfully so, not because he took what they said out of context, but because he took their jokes as them thinking what they thought about the situation. Which you could say that that's taking it out of context, but I don't think that those individuals are people who applauded the killing, applauded the jailing of that feminist. I think that Thunderf00t has been trying to distance himself from the skeptic community for a long time. This happens to be a skeptic community that he basically started on YouTube. He was one of the first people who started talking about, skepticism with religion and skepticism with social justice. He was one of the first people to ever do it. And now he's seeing his community as people who are not skeptics, people who just basically make lulz videos against feminists, people who take individual feminists and individual social justice warriors and just take the whole group as being that's exactly what every one of them believe, and being people who don't do their research at all. I've watched plenty of Sargon videos. I've watched plenty of his videos where he just speaks nonsense. I've taken videos that Steven Crowder and Paul Joseph Watson have made, where they lie. They lie too. They do the exact same thing that Thunderf00t did. Now the issue is that there are a lot of people in he's lost tons of subscribers. A lot of people in his comment section that say stuff like, well, you've taken that out of context. I don't want to watch your videos anymore. Which, that's what he's always done. He did it with Anita Sarkeesian. He's basically done it all the time. He takes, especially the soundbite of Anita Sarkeesian going, everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is homophobic, everything is transphobic. That statement was taken out of context. So, I don't see why that is the way it is, and people. The funny thing is, you make a video against one of those people, one of the skeptics, and you will take their points and you will, you know, debunk them, and they'll say, "Oh, you." Their fans will be like, "You took them out of context." But I do feel like Thunderfoot took their jokes as being them serious, and I think that this is a case in which he's wanted to distance himself from those people for a long time. And I think that he just wanted to find a reason to do so. And I think that he thought that a lot of people would be on his side instead of not very many. To which point, I think that Thunderfoot deserves the criticism that he's getting. He deserves the backlash that he's getting. But at the end of the day, if you've watched a Thunderfoot video, you know what you're gonna get. And the same people are like, "Oh, you said this. I'm unsubscribing to you." I'm not saying that Sargon isn't a laughable, idiotic person. But what I am saying is that I don't think that the comments made in that hangout were of the feeling of the people in the hangout. And, you know, Thunderfoot's going to get the backlash from it. He's gonna pay the piper for this. And I think that he should make an apology video towards the people that he made the videos about, made the remarks, made the criticisms about, because I don't think he's right. And I don't think it would be right for him to just continue with the narrative. And the other thing is, if I wanted to leave a community, right? Leave a community of people that I wanted to, you know, be absolutely free from, because they are, in my eyes, awful people with awful opinions. I'm not going to come out and just call them out. I'm just going to be like, "Hey, peace. I didn't agree with that. I'm gone." Right? But he's lingering too far on this. Just absolutely too far. And that's all I have to say with this video. It's Spy's Political Agenda. I'm out. Peace.